So today I would like to share some of the most important experiences I had with both the 16th and 17th Karmapa. When I served His Holiness the 16th Karmapa for about 9 years, and then before he passed away, he asked if I would like to come to a 3-year retreat center in Rumtek, and he was very adamant about Rumtek, Sikkim, nowhere else. But then as he was getting on the plane, he said, well, in case it doesn't happen in Rumtek, then maybe try to find another place to go into the 3-year retreat. So shortly after that, in November of '81, I heard news that he had passed away, and at that point I decided that day that I heard the news that I would go into a 3-year retreat. So that day I went up and told my parents I'm going in, and there was no yes, maybe, no, just 100% for sure going in. And then I wrote letters to various 3-year retreat centers. There's lots of them all over the world, and one from France came back first, and the second one was from Vancouver. So took the one from Vancouver. Then I remember Kailash Rinpoche saying, when you need money to go into the 3-year retreat, just write everybody you know and ask for the full amount of money. So that's what I did. I wrote everybody I knew that had money and asked for the full amount, and I got plenty of money, lots of money. And I even shared it with people that didn't have so much in the retreat. So I went into 3-year retreat shortly after in around July of '82, I think. Kailash Rinpoche put us into the 3-year retreat in Salt Spring Island in Canada, where we stayed for 3 years and 3 months, 10 of us men, and in a separate building 10 women. And we stayed in boxes. We had no beds, and we did meditation about 8 to 10 hours every day, and puja and various other ceremonies. When I got out in '85, November of '85, Jamin Khancho Rinpoche was there to do the ceremony to bring us out, and he was. We were quite happy to meet with Jamin Khancho, and immediately he invited myself and a friend, Mary Jane, down to Seattle, and we had a wonderful time going down with him and spending time in the same house as Jamin Khancho was staying. At that time, I remember there was the biggest snowstorm ever to hit Seattle, and the whole city came to a screeching halt with 12 to 18 inches of snow. So in the retreat, it was a little bit difficult in the beginning to adjust to the situation of living with 9 other men, 10 including the cook, and as we got into the situation of being able to sleep comfortably okay in the meditation boxes that we had, then it got easier, and it seems like as the years went by, it went deeper with a connection to go into meditation almost instantaneously, whereas in the beginning it was like sometimes a good meditation, sometimes not so good. And then I knew well my tolerance levels of needing to sleep or not, and so you get into a routine pretty quick, and then you can take yourself quite easily and quickly into deeper states of meditation. And we changed every month or 3 months, sometimes 6 months, changed different meditation retreat programs. And yeah, as the years passed, I think at some point all of us felt like we were on a ship, and the ship was going to enlightenment, but we had no idea where we were, whether we were going, because there was no point of reference. We didn't write letters to the outside world. It was just us 9 other guys doing it. and yeah, a few messages from the outside world that were pertinent. But in the end, when I came out, yeah, I felt very stable with the ability to go into deeper meditation. And so after that, I, have been doing a lot of meditation and being a meditation instructor for more than 7 years here. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience. There's a lot to say, but it's kind of deeper, more personal stuff. It's hard to share on a camera like this. So anyway, I'll get back to what happened after we got out of retreat. Jamyang Khantrul Rinpoche really wanted to help me to go to Tibet, because Karmapa, before he passed away, he also hinted to me a lot about that I have some karma in Tibet. Actually, he has some karma in Tibet, and we both had karma in Tibet. He had karma to be reborn there, and I had karma to go, I think I must have gone over 50 or 60 times over a 16-year period, and lived in Tibet for about 3.5 years, and had a house, my own house at Serpu. And so when Karmapa came, then I was allowed to go see him whenever I wanted, for as long as I wanted. So I had quite a good experience the first 3 years, from 92 to about 95. A few other experiences that I had that I forgot to mention about before the 16th Karmapa passed away. I was allowed to drive him every day for about 3.5 months. So we really developed a deep connection, because often he was just tired of doing these religious ceremonies, and so we'd just be with the group, and then suddenly we'd make a right turn, they would make a left turn, and we were gone, and gone for long periods of time, like the whole day. And he would go by the lake and go visit the zoo or to pet stores, and just relax, parks, and we got to know each other quite well. And he told me about, I said, Karmapa, I heard it's really good to, go into deeper levels of meditation, but I would like to fly. He said, oh, well, if you want to do that, then maybe 12 years meditation retreat. We laughed, but I think he was telling the truth. For those who go deep into meditation retreat high in the mountains of Tibet, or places conducive to meditation. And I tell you, in my 3.5 years in Tibet, I found a lot of them. I used to hike to the top of mountains around Serpu, and I met these monks and nuns that were in so remote places, I just couldn't believe it. And the sound of silence was like ringing in the ear. It was powerful to experience such a altitude and no electromagnetic frequencies that we all live in an ocean of now. And you could hear every thought as it comes. And it was a powerful experience in general. I also like to share that I had the aspiration in 3-year retreat to go to Mount Kailash, whatever way I could. I said, even if I ride a motorcycle, I'm going to make it to Mount Kailash. So in Lhasa, over my years of taking tour groups there, I tried to get a group together to do a trip to the holy mountain of Mount Kailash. And people would sign up for the tour in Lhasa. I was doing this, and then they would phase out at the last moment. But one lady kept with me that we're going to go. So finally, on May of the year 1987, we set out for Mount Kailash, hitchhiking. About 2,000 miles across Tibet with this lady and hitchhiking. And finally we did make it to Mount Kailash. This was during the time I was going off into Tibet to help Serpu Foundation, which I'll mention a little bit about more, but to finish up on the Mount Kailash trip. So it took us about 3.5 weeks to get there. 2 weeks to get there. We stayed about a week and a half, 2. Anyway, the whole trip took 6 weeks, and after going around Mount Kailash once and Lake Mansarava, the holy lake near Mount Kailash, we found a group of 200 pilgrims on 6 trucks, and we went the southern route, and we went the northern route going there, and they were going back the southern route. So we had the opportunity to see the whole circumambulation, which was amazing, amazing journey, beyond words. And some other time I'd love to share that with those interested. And so regarding Surpu Foundation, I first met Drupal Dechen in '86. He was the head lama appointed by Karmapa to run the monastery of Surpu. And so I got letters of permission from all the head regents and from Drupal Dechen himself, and also His Holiness Karmapa wrote me letters of authorization and told me about, Drupal Dechen set me up to stay in a cave we call it the Karmapakshi cave, Pema Chuzong, I think it's called in Tibetan, and I stayed up there for 3.5 weeks, and I have a strong connection to talk to Karmapa in my meditation. So I tell you, he didn't let me sleep for about 4 nights. I had communication with Karmapa about starting Surpu Foundation. It really actually started in that cave of the second Karmapa, high above Surpu Monastery, where he said, please, to help to do this foundation to rebuild this monastery. And I was saying, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to raise funds, blah, blah. And he would just go, well, okay, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to tell you how to do it. And you do this, this, and this. And I said, but, and I was carrying on this ongoing dialogue for a long time until finally said, okay, all right, I'll do it. You set up everything. And believe it or not, he did set up everything, even though he was out of body, even to the point where when the time came that he was to come back to Surpu, I was the first one to be there to see him as much as I wanted. So it really showed me the miracle of working with Karmapa. When I first met him and I was 20 years old and he clipped his finger,
yes,
that was the most powerful experience I ever had. They're some of the highest spiritual masters of the world. I haven't met any higher than Karmapa. Nobody. Everywhere I went, similar experiences like that happened with being with Karmapa. He would touch people's heart and soul to the point of shopkeepers. We were in New York shopping, and he'd come in and they'd think a normal customer, but it wasn't normal at all. And suddenly they'd start interacting with Karmapa, and you could see them transform on the spot the more they interacted. Whether he didn't speak much, he didn't speak English too much, but just interaction in a simple way, sign language or translator. And by the time we walked out of some of those stores, they were like, oh, my God, what was that about? And almost in tears. I remember one time in Albany, New York, we went to a shopping center and we walked in and he was looking at watches, and the guy was saying, yes, we have this watch. And I said, and he was saying, well, where's the really good one? Said, oh, you want to see my best one? Oh, okay, so then he pulled out the best one, like, 10 or 15,000. And he said, yes. And then Karmapa rolled up and said, oh, you mean like this? And he looked at it, and Karmapa had that watch on. And the guy dropped his jaw and looked at Karmapa, and everybody was, surrounding him. And suddenly he realized he was in a other almost dimension of time and space. I could see almost that he had a spiritual experience on the spot. And I think that happened many times, that I would, over the 4 months that I drove him both in Hawaii and New York, and then I traveled a lot with him on the west coast and east coast, not so much in the middle Colorado area. Santa Fe, I didn't go to the middle area, but on the east and west coast, and lots of special gatherings where people were brought to him either in private interview or in a group, and somehow I'd see people just tearing and crying and going into a state of profound, it looked like, I mean, I don't know what they actually felt, but like of bliss and joy and happiness. And then in talking to people that experienced the Vajra crown ceremony, which he was doing in that time, 17th one has been to America a few times, but he hasn't yet performed the Vajra crown. But this 16th Karmapa was in those years, in the 70s, and I talked to some people, and everybody had a deep and profound, I don't know everybody, but some of the people I talked to, and very different. Like some of them saw the Buddha of compassion, Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, and some of them saw the real crown above Karmapa's head, and so many, literally hundreds over my years of both with the 16th and 17th, people had deep visions and powerful experiences, spiritual experiences. To be the shining example that they are, that the state of enlightened mind can exist and we can attain it within this human body, that we, even though Karmapa reincarnates lifetime after lifetime, they constantly tell us stories like that of Milarepa, where full enlightenment can be attained within one lifetime. And so many, many great yogis in Tibet, in the quiet solitudes of Tibet, attained the rainbow body within, they say, one lifetime. They were not, quote, Tulku Rinpoche, Yangtze incarnate High Lama, but they were just something like an ordinary person that became a monk, and they attained the highest level of spiritual realization. They sometimes call that rainbow body, where they just dissolve into light, into rainbow light, and their body shrinks down to a small size, and they go to the pure land of the Buddha. And many, many cases of that, documented cases of that. So he's an example that enlightenment exists, and you can attain it in this lifetime, in this body, and if you have karma with your whatever teachers, a lot of people have strong karma with Karmapa, then easy to work with him to get to a very high level. Other people have connections with their teachers, their gurus, their masters, and then they work with them to show the face of the mind. As Urgen Tuku would do these transmissions of, just looking at the pure state of your mind in the moment by being in his presence. And Trekchu and Togyal in the Nyingmapa tradition is what his priority was to share with his students. And many masters shared in many different ways.